Yeah, this one gonna be different. This one gonna be different. It's been a long time, but not long enough. This one gonna be different and things of that nature. Pop out, pull up. This one gonna be different. And I'm not even gonna wait for nobody to get in the building. I'm just about to go in. I'm about to go in. Peace and blessings, man, to everybody out there. Whether you believe in God or whether you don't believe in God, whether you a sinner or you just really don't know. This is God talk though, and I'm not talking about God body. I'm talking about those that believe in God, those that trying to walk that walk, and you having some difficulty, you kind of stumbling and you run into roadblocks sometime because we still living in a world where we got sour pickles, bitter babies, lost souls, people looking for direction, people who crashed out. You mad? You mad? So this is what we're gonna be talking about, right? Now, first and foremost, let me just say that just because you're a believer in God, or you say you're a believer, that doesn't mean that life um is gonna be an easy road. That doesn't mean that you gonna be on a motorcycle and just skating through life without problems or issues. You know, a lot of people get that confused. You got people that believe in God that they sin every day, but the difference is they ask for forgiveness. You got some people that's looking to find they looking to find their way in life. Like everybody is looking for something. Some people looking to get high, off drugs. Some people looking for money. Some people looking to save their soul. Some people lost and confused. You just never really know. So I'm coming from a perspective of, and that's a big word, right? Perspective. So I'm coming from the perspective of an individual that I've been through a lot in life. When I was younger, um, I was going to church. As I got older, kind of hit the streets and was running around, moving around. But now that I got older, after I done went through all of those different stages, I realized that God is the only answer. Nothing else gonna save you. And let me tell you why. And when I say God is the only one gonna save you, I'm not saying like you gotta be home all day, every day with your head in your Bible. You gotta go to church, 20 days out the week. I'm not saying that because part of your walk and part of your salvation, you learn as you go. You learn as you grow. You're not going to understand everything. Are you going to make mistakes? Yeah. But because you have some people, or you have a lot of people, that claim that they believe in God, claim that they believe in a higher power, you see what they doing. The ones that profess to be about that God life, and you see them doing opposite. So people get discouraged. And what I'm gonna say to you is like, don't get discouraged. I came up in Brooklyn. I'm a New York City. I'm New York City to the core. Lived in almost every borough. Lived out of town, different places. Did a lot, seen a lot. But again, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, everything come back to God. And let me tell you why. Right? Let me tell you why. Because some of these people that we deal with on a regular basis, God is the only one that stop you from like reading them the riot act. If you understand what I'm saying, um, God is the only one who reminds you like, Be easy, be patient. Like, you don't have to react. You don't have to have an answer right now. God is the one that tap you on your shoulder and like, yo, it's okay to be frustrated, but just let it out in a way where you're not harming yourself and you're not harming others. Because we got a lot of bitter pickles. Um, we got a lot of people that they kind of just gave up on life, you know, and they whole goal and they whole plan is to see how many people they could get to crash out. Um, you got some people who, because of they decisions that they made in life, they thought at one time it was the right decision, and then it turned out to be the wrong decision, and they gotta sleep in that bed that they made, and now it's not comfortable no more. You feel what I'm saying? They don't like the bed that they made. That's why we call them bitter pickles. But getting back to the point of the matter is that if you don't believe in God now, right, you're gonna believe in God after it's all said and done. And I'm gonna give you a true story, right? So I found like I found out that most of the people, well, it's not even what I found out. It's something that I know, right? Most of the people that I grew up with is either dead or in jail, right? A lot of people ain't do half the things that I did in life. And sometimes I ask myself why I'm still here. That's God. You get what I'm saying? That's God. Um, why how I became the individual that I am today, the one that don't react to dumb niggas like Sean 69, who we trying to have an intelligent conversation, and then you got crash dummies. You got people that just say the dumbest shit out of their mouth for no reason. If you don't want to listen to the conversation, if you don't want to hear what's going on, then slide off the live. You don't gotta be here. And this is the problem. This is the problem. All right, so we gonna help you out. Um, there we go. We gonna help you out. So now the walk that you take with God is not gonna be an easy walk, right? But when you read the Bible and you understand that the Bible is really a way of life. It's not just a book that you read. It's not just something that, after you read it, you jump up and you feel all of this energy. No, if you listen to the stories in the Bible, a lot of those stories you can relate to real life the way it is now. Like for instance, the story about Jezebel, right? Okay. Now, let me see. All right. So the story about Jezebel, right? Why is that story important? So the story about Jezebel goes a little something like this. Jezebel had a husband, and her husband would leave, and then she would call men and be like, yo, listen, my husband is not here, come through. We gonna have some fun and we gonna turn up. And they use different language back then, right? But what she was doing in essence was a married woman was inviting men to her bed, right? And a lot of these dudes knew that she was married. So for them, it was okay, let me see if I could, get on up in here and have a little fun before the husband come home. But one day the husband happened to come home. What happened? The wife and dude, they in the house, they doing whatever it is that they doing. Um, and now the husband, what he do is he decide to take the life of the guy that was cheating with his wife. Now, keep in mind, the Bible, this is years and years and years and years ago. This is thousands of years ago. But how do that story relate to what it is that we got going on now? What that story does is it tells you why, or it explains to you the results or the outcome of somebody that's creeping with somebody else's wife. They just using different terminology. They just using different words. That's one of the reasons why I say in the Bible, um, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. What thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife means you shouldn't look at another man's wife. You shouldn't want to go after another man's wife. It's not only wife though. You shouldn't want to go after somebody else's girlfriend, because a lot of dudes, especially dudes that love their wives, a lot of them is going to take it to the 100th degree. They're gonna take it to the 100th extent, for their females. And a lot of times what happens is they'll harm a dude that was cheating with their wife, but they won't do nothing with the female. That's how it is most of the time. But nowadays, with all of the drugs going on, and a lot of dudes suffering from mental issues, they definitely been bringing harm to females. Now let's go for another one. It says, um, thou shalt not steal. Now, why should thou shalt not steal? Thou shalt not steal because what are the repercussions of stealing? If you steal, you could get locked up. If you steal in some countries, they chop your arm off. If you steal, you taking money from the mouth of a whole nother family of people that really need that. And karma gonna come back around and it's gonna bite you. So and that's what I mean by you don't have to be all holier than thou. You don't have to walk around like, oh, I can't listen to music. Oh, I can't. No, it's walking with God is just choosing to live a life, that makes sense. A life that's full of morals, values, principles. You heeding the warnings. You're not putting yourself in dangerous situations. And as we come up in life, and as we growing in life, as we figuring out and learning our way, a lot of times we make mistakes. Like a lot of us done lied, a lot of us done cheated, a lot of us done stole. We done did a whole lot of things, but just because that's who you were at one point in time, that don't necessarily mean that's who you have to be now. And one thing I look at, one thing that I was always curious about is like, why is it that, especially in the prison system, right? Or for dudes that they done committed like certain crazy and certain, heinous crimes, why is it that after years and years and years and years and years of them being in jail, why do they turn to religion? You know? Why do they turn to God? Why do they turn Muslim? Why do they turn Christian? Why some dudes, after serving a lot of time in prison, do they turn to religion? Why do some people who, after being strung out on drugs or, been alcoholics for most of their life, they turn to God? Um, why is it that, people that been abused, mistreated, or, like the world and dragged them through the mud, why is it that they turn to God? Why? Can anybody answer that question for me? Jesus Christ is God. That's a fact. Jesus Christ is God. Strawberry Kisses, great work. Keep speaking the truth. Thank you, Strawberry Kisses. I appreciate you. Um, it's important. Like, okay, yeah, social media is for entertainment. Sometimes we like to laugh, we like to joke, we like to have fun, but then we also got to have some serious conversations as well. 2-5 said, "God bring me peace." Exactly. God brings some people peace. Now, and God bring me peace. And I'm still in the process of you know walking my walk. If you go to some of my earlier content that I got on this page, I was speaking about different topics, the latest events, what's going on in the hip hop community, what's going on, with certain individuals in the streets. Like that was the content that I was dealing with. And then I'm like, but why would I focus on the content that everybody else is putting out there when all it's doing is pushing negativity. That's what it is at the end of the day. And you don't have to be the most God fearing person to say, well, I don't want a certain energy. You know, I didn't dealt with enough negative energy in my life that I don't want to deal with that no more. And every day situations and circumstances transpire where it's like it want to pull you back. But me, I decided to stay in the race. And let me tell you why I decided to stay in the race. So in terms of religion, right? You have Muslims, you have Christians, you have Jews, you have Buddhists, you have Hindus, you got the Israelites. I mean, you name it. You got all of these different religious, you got all of these different religious organizations and bodies. You got the Nation of Islam, um, Muslim, you got the Sunni Muslim, you got the Shiite Muslims, but all of them have a belief in God. And my question always is like, okay, so if all of y'all believe in God, do it matter? Do it matter, who what name you call God by? Like if I call God Jesus Christ and you call God Allah, you call God Jehovah, you call God Yahweh, like do it matter? Like why people still arguing? It should be more simple. It should be okay, you believe in God, we might call him by different names, but it's so long as you believe in God, then you a brother of mine. Whether you're Muslim, whether you Christian, whether you Baptist, whether you Buddhist, whether you Hindu, but because everybody trying to feel like the God that they serving is the God that everybody should be serving. That's why it's so much confusion. And that's why people don't believe in God. That's why people don't believe in, going to the church no more. That's why people so bitter. That's why people are so miserable. That's why some people, they don't got no soul. Some people think that they be doing a lot, but they don't really be doing nothing at all. You think just because you may accumulate all the money in the world that you're doing something? What does it mean? What does it mean if you come across $100 million right now? What does that mean? That just means you got a lot of money. But what does that say about your character as an individual? Who are you? Do you have principles? Do you have morals? What is it that you stand on? A lot of people with money, they don't stand for nothing, you know? And then when you think about how life was before money even entered into the picture, how did people function back then before money was created? They couldn't value money back then because they didn't have money, but they have values, they have principles, they have morals. you know a lot of people nowadays, they don't got no morals, they don't got no values, they don't got no principles. Like even a lot of dudes that came up in the streets, in the 70s and the 80s and things of that nature, like a lot of them came out of the church, a lot of them went to church, so they had certain morals, so they wouldn't do crimes or sell drugs. They wouldn't do certain things in front of older people or elderly people because they had respect. Nowadays people don't got respect for nothing. So it's like, okay, if God is not the answer, then what is the answer? Somebody tell me. If God is not the answer, what's the answer? If there's nothing else or nobody out there that has a message that people are going to listen to, then what do you do? So we just gonna sit around and watch people just like crash and burn? We gonna sit around and watch people destroy themselves because we focused on the wrong things? And I'm not saying like you gotta be the kind of person that you go out there and say, I'ma save the world. I'm not saying that. But what I'm asking is, the question that I'm asking is, what is the answer? Somebody tell me what's the answer, you know? Everybody strung out on drugs nowadays. Like people got mental health issues. Um, People out here starving. People, back in the days, robbing people, like taking phones and pocketbooks and purses and all kind of crazy shit, you know? and I'm cursing, but I'm still a work in progress. So, don't judge me. But sometimes we gotta have real conversation. You know, sometimes we really gotta have real conversation. When do we stop talking about cars and material and BBLs and all of that? Like, what does it amount to? You can't sleep with a car, you know, and people so crazy, right? See, one thing people forget is this: is we all have a birthday, we all have a day that we was born, but then we also all have a death date, right? And I ain't trying to scare nobody, but I'm just being honest. Everybody have a death date, right? So what that means is everybody gonna die. Now, anything that you have in this world that you value, you can't take nothing with you. You cannot take nothing with you. So your cars, your jewelry, your reputation, your all of that, you can't take nothing with you. So why are you cherishing it? Why are you cherishing things that's not even, and when you pass away, people gonna be fighting over the stuff that you left behind. It's gonna turn them into savages. It happens all the time, you know? So why are we cherishing materialism, something that we can't take with us? And don't think that like people are just born and you go through your whole life of living in this world, and after you die is nothing after that. Don't think that. And that's what a lot of people feel. That's what a lot of people get confused. And that's because the message been so twisted, and the message has been so tainted like over the years. And then you have these churches, you have a lot of these mega churches where people go in there, and it's not about talking about God, or developing a relationship with God. A lot of churches, like black churches, they talking about prosperity. A lot of those preachers, they trying to, put their hand in your pocket to see how much money they could get up out of you. You know, um, so it's yeah, man. It's a lot going on. And this is why we got to change the conversation. This is why we got to change the dynamic. He said, anyone who says against God will suffer their consequences, like many people I can see saying negativity in the chat, but it is not too late to change your path. Exactly. See, when you have people, and it's gonna happen, right? Because this is social media. You're gonna have people come in the chat with negativity, but you know what I look at that as? That's people that just want to be heard, right? And they got an opportunity to say something, but they don't know what to say out their mouth because they ignorant. So you know what that means? What that means is get you a good book, get you something to read, get you something to focus on, get you some goals, get you some priorities. And then when you come on a place like social media, you will have something to offer. And the saddest thing about it is a lot of individuals that come on social media with these wacky comments, a lot of them got kids. A lot of them got kids, or a lot of them got nieces and nephews. Some of them is old enough to be some people, grandparent. So it's like it's sad how, you think just jumping on social media, jumping in a YouTube live and saying something that don't make no sense, that validates you, that make you feel important, that make you feel special. It's like, nah, that's not the way. And me, I'm not even gonna bash you. Like some people that say negative things, I mean, if you go too over the board, I'm gonna just block you and keep it moving. But I'd rather give you something, I'd rather give you some food for thought. I'd rather give you something to think about, right? If you don't have nothing on your mind, let's break it down, right? Okay. If you ignorant and you don't have nothing on your mind, and you what they call a mental midget, right? A mental midget is somebody that don't got a lot to offer upstairs. So if you don't got a lot to offer upstairs and you ignorant, what kind of relationship you think you're gonna have with a female? Mm. What kind of relationship you think you're gonna have with anybody if you're not bringing nothing to the table, if you don't got nothing to offer? What kind of relationship you gonna have with your family? If you got kids, what can you teach your kids if you don't got nothing in here? This is what you got to think about. So it may look fly, it may look cute, it may make you feel special and happy that you can come and offer an ignorant comment, but it's gonna be forgotten about because so many other people gonna live comments that yours gonna get lost in translation. And you just put out there to the world like, okay, this is me. Like social media, when you leave a comment, this is your one opportunity to say something, to do something, to be something, because you're gonna get seen all over the world. And you want the whole world to look at you like, why did this dummy just say this? People think it's trendy to be ignorant. Exactly. People think it's trendy to be ignorant and not even realizing that their ignorance is what's keeping them behind. They ignorance is what's keeping them behind. Like people rather watch social media or people rather watch lives to hear somebody else talking or to hear somebody else giving information instead of them getting active. You know, like what are you trying to accomplish? What are you on this earth for? That's what you got to ask yourself. What are you here for? Your mother and your father, they brung you into this world. Well, your mother brung you into this world. Okay, you here. What you gonna do with it? You going if you live to 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, at the end of the day, what are you going to say your life amounted to? What's going to be your story when you 70, 80 years old? Oh, I had a lot of money. Oh, I'm from the hood. Oh, I turned up. Like, come on, like stop it. Be serious. We could really be on here having real conversations. Like we really could be networking, putting our heads together and making some real things happen. And that's what the spirit of God is about. You know, that's what the real spirit of God is about. It's like me wanting for you what I want for myself, right? Me, instead of putting you down, instead of, making you feel less than, me trying to build you up, me trying to give you food for thought to make you a better person, right? Me trying to help you get in position to accomplish some things. So in that way, you could take what you accomplished and now you could be an asset to your family. Because a lot of y'all, all y'all doing is bringing, a lot of people, all they bringing to the dinner table is a fork and a spoon ready to eat. That's all y'all bringing to the table. And y'all wonder why y'all don't have no successful relationships. You wonder why you gotta, for dudes, this is crazy. Dudes wonder why they gotta spend their time on Instagram scrolling through the IG models and liking pictures. You never gonna get those females in real life because you're not bringing nothing to the table aside from a fork and a spoon. You're not even thinking about contributing nothing to the table. You're not even trying to create a dinner table. You're not trying to go buy a table. It's like a lot of people is worthless. And they think that, they think it's cute. They think it's funny, ha, but it's not funny where you see after all of these years you've been on this earth and then you find yourself sleeping on the sidewalk with a cardboard over you because you ain't put nothing in the life to put yourself in position. See, that's not funny, you know? That's not funny. You know how crazy it is? All right, so now let's deal with real story. We respect everybody that got a job, everybody that got a hustle, and everybody that got an income, right? But I gotta be real. Like, and I want my people, I want everybody that's watching me right now to be real. Okay. Now, what do you think? And we not judging nobody. We not judging nobody, but I need to put this scenario out there. What do you think of a person that's 50 years old working in a fast food restaurant? What's your thoughts? If anybody want to put their thoughts, let me know what's your thoughts. What are your thoughts on a 45 or 50-year-old individual working in a fast food restaurant, right? And I'm gonna pull out my phone so I could share some math with you. I'm gonna use the calculator, right? What do y'all think about that? All right, so I got the calculator up, right? Probably make as much as me as a caregiver. Okay, okay, and they probably do. Now, let me explain something to you. And this is not, I'm not rude, I'm not disrespectful. We're not even coming with that kind of energy. This is all positive energy. So if you hear me put out a question, it's not a question because I'm not trying to style on nobody, and I'm not trying to make nobody feel little or less than, right? But a person that's 50 years old that's working in a fast food restaurant, let's say they getting $18 an hour, right? And they working 40 hours a week. So $18 an hour times 40 hours, that equals $720, right? Now, after they take out taxes out of $720, usually, mm, let's say about $250 minus $250, right? So for working 40 hours a week, this is what they're going to come up with, $470, right? How many weeks in a month? You got 4 weeks in a month. So 470 times 4 equals, you got about $1,900. Now, out of this $1,900, how much do you think a person that's 50 years old is paying in rent? Or even if they're not paying rent, if they own a house, you got gas, electrical, and you got all that other stuff. But if a person is 50 years old working in a fast food restaurant, 9 times out of 10, they don't own a house, right? So let's say out of this $1,800, this is a month. We're not talking about a week. For a person working in a fast food restaurant, this is how much they bring in for the month, $1,880. Now, on the average, and this is even if you live way, way, way out, on the average in New York City, I ain't even gonna tell you the numbers. I'm not even gonna tell you what it costs for an apartment. But let's just use a reasonable figure and say out of $1,880, they spending $1,000 on rent, right? So now they got $880 to get them through the rest of the month. Now, what's one of the things that they need to succeed? They need a phone. So how much is a phone? $50. So we gonna minus $50 from that. Now they got $830 after they done paid their phone bill. If they got a vehicle, that's transportation. They gotta pay insurance, right? So let's say insurance, they paying $100 a month insurance minus $100. Now you got $730. You got to put gas in the car. Even if you put gas in the car once a week, right now gas is like $3 and something. So let's say weekly they put in $50 worth of gas in the car to get them back and forth. $50 times 4 is $200. So this 730, we gonna minus $200. Now they got 530. Do they got a cable bill? Or do they got Wi-Fi connection, Wi-Fi hookup? That's gonna be minus $75, right? They have $455. We didn't add gas, we didn't add lights, we didn't add, you know, food that they gotta grocery shop, and we didn't add doing laundry, buying laundry detergent. But this is a person that work in McDonald's. If you 45, 50 years old, you're going to be surviving off of $455 every month. That's a hard knock life. That's a hard knock life. So we got to be mindful that, yeah, it may be trendy, it may be cool, it may be, fun to waste our time while we in our 20s, we in our 30s, all the money we making, we making it rain. We want to get all of these designer. We just blowing money fast. We living fast, blowing money fast. But when you get older, you got to keep in mind, companies are not hiring you, and they're not paying you the same amount of money that they paying younger people. If they got somebody that's 25 years old, you going to get out the door. They're going to get that person 25 years old a job because they figure we could get another 40 years out of them. So this is how companies are thinking. They saying, okay, we want to hire somebody that's young, fresh out of college, because we know they're going to be working for us for about 40 years. You heard of using ChatGPT to create an algorithm to trade stock, commodities, and Forex. Yeah, I heard about it, but the chat GBT. I'm not really into that. I probably should be, right? But getting back to the story now. So companies that are looking to hire people, they looking to hire people that are fresh out of school so that they could get 40 years of work out of them, right? The average person that's living today is not even thinking 10 years ahead into the future. This is the kind of scenarios that we dealing with. So this is why I go back to God. This is why I go back to, why God is so important. And every so often I'm gonna go back in that direction as to why God is important, because you have instances in the Bible where you had people that wasn't really intelligent. You had people that wasn't really smart. You had people that didn't really know a lot. But because they were believers and because they developed a relationship with God, God actually taught them how to speak, taught them the right moves to make. You understand what I'm saying? So, a lot of times we don't learn it from our family. We don't learn it from people in our community. So, we got to learn it from somewhere. And the Bible is definitely a great source of education and inspiration. I'm thinking you could use stuff you'd be better than the best. I mean, if that's what you into, Chente, you know, if that's what you into, if stocks is your thing, then by all means go for it. And the thing about stocks is stocks not going nowhere. And if you get good at trading stocks, you definitely can make a lot of money, because you got the stock market here, that like here in the United States or the East Coast or whatever. And when that market closed, then the West Coast market is open, and the market overseas is open. So, if that's your thing, if you into doing those, crunching those numbers, and you know how to keep track of numbers and figures, and companies and performance and stuff like that, then yeah, you could do pretty good for yourself. Me, that's personally not something that I'm into. That's never been something that interests me, because it's a gamble. And what happens when you gamble? When you gamble, it's an opportunity that you're gonna lose. You could potentially lose. So if you got the money to play with, then go ahead, by all means, do your thing. So, in a nutshell, we gotta start thinking. We gotta start thinking smarter. What I mean by thinking smart is we gotta start thinking ahead. Stop just looking at now. Stop just looking at now, and pay attention to some of this information that you hear. I'll give you one source of information where it's not going to take you a lot of time. It's not going to take you a lot of time to absorb it, to give you a clearer understanding of what it is that I'm saying. So now, look up, look up, look up famous athletes, especially football players, right? Football players who done got like multi-million-dollar contract, even basketball players. They said most famous athletes, be it basketball players, football players, so forth and so on. They said most famous athletes go broke after 5 years of being out of the league. And we talking about people that had hundreds of millions of dollar contracts playing sports. They go broke after 5 years. They probably had a 5, 10 year career playing professional sports, and then 5 years later they broke. So 120, 130, 200, $300 million, they done ran through that in 15 years, and they don't got nothing to show for it. So look at stories like that. Look at scenarios like that. And that give you a clearer idea of what's going on in life. You know? God is the way, though. God is the way. And I used to follow Islam. Well, let me backtrack. So when I was younger, I started off going to Baptist church. Same old regular black church. That's the church I started off going to. And then I got older, And I started looking into Islam or Islam. Everybody say it different, and you know, and following Islam, um, I don't know. It just different, right? Um, Chente, I became Muslim in jail, bro. But okay, so let me ask you a question. Why did you become Muslim in jail? I would like to hear your story, and I'll tell you why. I became Muslim. I became Muslim in jail as well. But why did you become Muslim in jail? What was your reason, right? And so I remember when I grew up going to Baptist church when I was younger, um, and then my mother she started dealing with a guard body, which is a 5%er, and she didn't eat no pork. So she told us, pork was out the window. We couldn't eat no pork in the house. All right, cool. She ain't never tried to convert us, to being guard bodies and nothing like that. But we just wasn't eating pork. And then when I was in prison, um, I wasn't really thinking about Islam. I wasn't thinking about religion. Period. I was just doing time. And somebody that I knew, they was they was the minister of the Nation of Islam in a particular jail that I was in. So they was having a lot of problems and a lot of issues. People wasn't respecting the service. People was talking during the service. They was disrespecting the minister. So the brother called me and my other boy that we was real close, and he asked us to be his security, right? So we went about being his security. Now, our whole thing is, you know, we was providing security to him because he was somebody that we knew. He was somebody, that we was doing time with, we was doing the bid with, and we gonna stand by and we gonna support him. So that's what wound up happening. We wound up getting, the church in order. Um, people was respecting the service. And then it came to a point where, the brother got kind of a little big for his britches, and start talking to us crazy, start talking to us like, you know, um, how people they feel like they in power, and then they just start talking crazy and start talking reckless out their mouth. So he became that individual. And make a long story short, I wound up just I wound up handling him, sending him out of the prison, and because of that, we was left without a minister for the Nation of Islam in that prison. And so the Imam, which was the Muslim spiritual leader, he was like, man, listen, the brothers in here respect you. They respect the service. They listen to you. A lot of people, look up to you, for some of the stuff that you've been doing. So, man, you might as well step in, and lead them brothers. And that's what I did. I wound up taking over the Nation of Islam in that prison. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really didn't know too much about Islam, but I had one of the Muslim brothers that pretty much taught me a lot about Islam, and gave me the lessons for the Nation of Islam, and studying that. And then just over time, I absorbed it, learned a lot about the religion, and I became a spiritual leader. But it wasn't something that I was looking forward to. It was just something that happened. And then but it always kind of bothered my spirit though, because um, the Nation of Islam is different. NOI is different than regular Muslims. So I don't. For me, it was just like trouble in my spirit. Maybe it was trouble in my spirit because I grew up going to Baptist church, and this was a totally different vibe that I was into. But make a long story short, you know when I was in that position, I pretty much, led the Nation of Islam in that prison. And, we made it do what it do. I read the full Quran because I was curious and I don't eat pork and wanted more to my faith, like praying 5 times a day, and is more disciplined than being a simple Christian. The Bible say when you pray, don't keep on babbling like the pagans. Mm. Being in a hole and in a cell 22 hours a day make you question heaven and hell. You okay? So in Chente, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I did off and on. I did about 7.5, maybe 8 years of solitary confinement, which is 23 and 1. 23-hour lockdown, you come out for 1 hour. And you right, you in there by yourself and you looking for something. So that's one of the ways some people join the religion. And I'm a agree with you, and I'm gonna say that the the Quran, right? Because that's let me you know get a right pronunciation of the holy book, the Holy Quran, and Islam. Yes, it's a little bit more disciplined, right? Um, but that's because as a whole, those that practice Islam are disciplined. You understand? So it's like if you look at the NOI, and that's one of the things you got to respect about the NOI. Nobody could take it from them. Is the NOI? You don't see like out here in society. You barely see brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam hanging in the streets because they don't. They going to and fro their destination. They provide their own resources. They work their own businesses. They got their own schools. So, yes, they a whole lot more disciplined. Like if you commit murder, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. But when you there, you wake up every day with no escape. And it makes me think if you die and go to hell, you'll be in hell thinking, damn, why did I do that? I wish I could go back to earth. Same if I want to go back to the world and wish I would have not commit that crime. Exactly. And a lot of times that be the individuals that go to religion because man, prison is hell on earth. I don't care what nobody say. People glorify it. People talk about their war stories and some of the things that they did and they was running to jail and they was. But at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you gotta do to survive. That's what it all boils down to. I don't wish jail on my worst enemy, but a lot of brothers as well as sisters that go to prison, they wind up um they wind up joining some form of religion. And it's especially in California too, right? Um and I think that just prison as a whole, like when somebody's sentenced to a huge sentence, like 25, 30, 40, 50 years, they need something that's going to keep them sane, you know? And they want to believe in something to keep them going. Because if you don't have nothing to believe in, like you could lose your mind in prison. So for a lot of people, religion is what keep them going. But the biggest flex is like being out here, being in a free world, like we are right now, being out here in a free world and saying that you're a believer. Whether you in Islam, whether you believe in Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or whether you believe in Jesus Christ. But look, Chente, I'm a give you some game, right? I'm gonna give you some game. And this is something that I got from a Muslim cleric, right? A Muslim religious leader. Now, excuse me, a Muslim scholar. You can look this up on YouTube as well. This Muslim scholar was a scholar in Islam for over 30 years, and he converted to Christianity. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. He converted to Christianity for two reasons. He said that Esau, which is Jesus, is mentioned more in the Holy Quran, I'm going to say Quran, when we talk about the Muslim Bible, the Holy Quran. Jesus, he's called Esau in Islam. Jesus is mentioned more in the Holy Quran than Prophet Muhammad, who's the prophet of the religion. Why is that? And that's something that he was questioning. Like, okay, so if Prophet Muhammad is the one that brung Islam to the people, why is he mentioned less in that book than Jesus Christ? You know? Esau is talked about a lot in the Holy Quran. Count the amount of times that Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in the Quran, and count the amount of times that Esau is mentioned in the Quran. And you don't even got to go through the whole book and count. You don't got to do that. You don't got to go through the whole book and count. All you got to do is Google it. Google how many times Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in the Holy Quran, and then Google how many times Jesus, Esau, is mentioned in the Holy Quran. And he said because of that, he converted from Islam to Christianity. I said, wow, that's deep, you know? And even when you talking about, even when you talking at first, I became Muslim because Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and other role models are Muslim. Yeah, because a lot of strong black men at that time, they were turning Muslim because Muslim is they was like militant, you know? They was like militant. And a lot of it had to do with, okay, so in and around that time, this is what it boiled down to. Because you talking about during you talking about during the civil rights era when you had like Martin Luther King that was, you know, marching for peace and stuff like that. He was doing his nonviolent protests, right? Um, like our people was getting, you know, water hose, bit by dogs, beat by police, hit with police batons, and he was still telling them, listen, don't fight back. You know, just keep marching for peace. Just keep marching for peace. And so now when the Nation of Islam under Prophet Muhammad, when the Nation of Islam came about, their thing was like, okay, we trying to save and we trying to resurrect our black people as well. But we not going to do it in a nonviolent way because if somebody commit violence against us, then pretty much, you know, we willing to commit violence against them. And then you had your radicals, you know, like Malcolm X that was, you know, preaching and, you know, speaking that talk. So a lot of people gravitated towards that because that was a time during, you know, that was a time wherein there was a struggle, and black people were fighting for rights, equal rights and justice, so forth and so on. And they just didn't feel or believe that Christianity was the way because Christians at that time, they, you know, they wasn't standing up for our people. So that's how you had, you know, the Muhammad Ali's and those individuals that went to Islam. But when you look at some of the when you look at the traditions, right? When you look at the traditions, the traditional dress and things of that nature of Muslims is very respectable. You know, the ladies dress respectable, the men dress respectable, the ladies and the men, you know, they're very well groomed. It gives you a sense of pride, you know, it makes you want to be a part of that, you know. Um, but I guess to each his own, you know, for me, I went back to, you know, Christianity, and I was Muslim for quite a few years, and I went back to Christianity. Maybe it's I went back to my roots, but again, I was in the Nation of Islam, and being in the Nation of Islam to me, you know, it just didn't sit right with my soul. It's like I had more questions than answers. You know, I'm not gonna go into the specifics of it, but I just had more questions than answers, and you know, I just felt comfortable, you know, kind of going back to Christianity. Because for a while I had a lot of questions about Christianity, and that's why, you know, I was more like moved towards Islam. And then the same thing happened. Facts. I like the part of to when the Quran said you can hit you if she see, okay, so some things about some things about yes, I recently converted back to Christianity. Um some things about some things about Islam, um, that's what makes some people want to become Muslims. Like the fact that you can have 5 wives, right? Some people join Islam just so they can have multiple women. But do you know why? Do you know why it's permissible to have more than 5 women? Like even something like praying 5 times a day. Do you know why Muslims pray 5 times a day? See, a lot of people they don't know the whys behind this. The why behind why Muslims pray 5 times a day, because Prophet Muhammad said that the Arab people was very stubborn, was very stubborn and hard-headed. Um, and he wanted to keep them in their knees in supplication, so that they could stay in the remembrance of God. So it wasn't a choice that they made, that they're going to pray 5 times a day. And whether you pray 5 times a day, 2 times a day, 1 times a day, whether you get on your knees and pray, or whether you're having a conversation with God, is so long as you pray. What is prayer? All prayer is having a conversation with your creator. So like right now while we're on this live, and we're having a conversation, if we're talking if we're talking about God, we're having a conversation about God. Now, if we start talking about certain things specific, you know, and we say, like, for instance, if I say, Father God, come into this live, bless this live, allow this live to be something that's going to open the eyes, ears, and hearts of those that's listening. So what I'm doing is I'm asking God to come into this conversation. I'm asking God's spirit. I'm asking for his spirit to come into, this congregation or this conversation that we having, to open people's eyes. So that's pretty much what prayer is. It's having a conversation with your creator. You know, you could go on your knees, and when you look at it, usually, but it get deep, and I don't want to, I don't want to delve into that. Um the differences in the religion. So long as you a believer in a religion, um and you gave your life to God, or you trying to walk that path that God laid, then by all means, I respect you. We all brothers, you know. We all brothers. We all on the same team, you know. So long as you believe in a higher power. But and go you could go and check some of my shorts, because I speak a lot about God, and I give a lot of encouraging quotes in my shorts, right? My question is, and I posed this in one of my shorts. I said, why is it that we believe in people that lie to us all the time, and then we'll still believe that pretty much they gonna tell us the truth, but we don't believe in God because we can't see him, or we never saw him. So what created you? Believe in karma, you believe in astrology and numerology. See, you know, oh, it makes no sense. Like when people pose that question, how can you believe in God that you never saw? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense, because who created you? We all have a creator. We didn't create ourselves. Tell me how you could create a tongue, and create a tongue that when you eat food, you can taste it. Like, or if you bite your tongue, you could feel pain somewhere. How do you create eyes? How do you create eyes that can see pictures? How do you create ears that can hear? How do you create arms that can move? Legs that can move? How do you create these things? How do you create teeth? For all this is for all of the people that say, how can you believe in a God that you never saw? Like God is a spook, God is a mystery. Okay, to answer that question, tell me, where do you create eyeballs at? Where do you create them at? Where do you create a brain at? Like, where do you get the material to create a brain? And for a brain to perform all of the functions that it performs? Let's answer that question. And see that, and the Quran and the Bible, it just goes hand in hand, right? Because um in the Bible it says that God reveals himself to who he want to reveal himself to, you know? Meaning the ones that believe is the ones that he put the spirit of belief in them. And the Quran, it has a similar message. It has a similar message wherein it says, pretty much those that don't believe is that their hearts were hardened for a reason, so that they're unable to believe, you know? So, um, but seeking ye shall find, you know? If you seek out God, um, if you seek out whoever you believe your religious fathers, if you seek them out, trust and believe, they're gonna reveal themselves to you, you know? They're gonna reveal themselves to you. But yeah, but getting back to it, it's just a lot of bitter people out here. It's a lot of lost people out here. It's a lot of lost souls. And um there's gonna come a point in time where we all gonna be held accountable. There's gonna come a point in time where we all gonna be held accountable, you know? So just keep that in mind. Um and this is the reason why every so often you have somebody that speaks the word of God. Those individuals are called messengers. What is a messenger? A messenger is somebody who God put on or laid on their heart some words, some information to speak and to convey to other people. So how sometimes you be like, oh wow, I needed to hear that message. That message came right on time. That the message feel like it was directly for you. That's because God put into the individual the words to say for people to hear, and this is why it affected you. So that message was for you. That means, your heart is open to receiving the word. Um, it's a lot to it. Everybody's not going to believe in religion. Everybody's not going to believe in God, and that's okay. You know, that's okay, because there's gonna come a point in time like where you're gonna go through some things in life. You're gonna wish, you're gonna wish that you believed in God. You know, so to everybody, who's on the path, to be it the people that found their path, um, even to the people that just started out on the path and you trying to live right, you trying to do something different, or you trying to be something different, you know, my hat's off to you. Um, I got nothing but love and respect for you. Right? Satan too is a god, smiles and cries. Yeah, and and see, it gets deep, you know. It gets deep. Those conversations, it get kind of deep. I don't want to get too deep right now. And I just want to just touch on some of the basics so we could gradually move into it. Because you have some people think that is multiple gods. You know, you have some people think that it's more than one God. You know, and then you have those that believe that it's only one God, and that everybody else is angels. Like, depending on who you're talking to, with it, Uriah, depending on who you're talking to, depending on who you're having a conversation with, um, you know, people will tell you that Satan at one time was an angel, not a god. You know, it gets deep. It gets deep. Um, and depending on who you're talking to, and depending on their level of knowledge and information, um, well, there are innumerable gods. Again, some people believe that. Me myself personally, I only believe that one God exists. That's just me myself personally. There was a point in time where when I was searching for information, and I was doing a lot of reading. My mind was open to absorbing a lot of different things that I was reading. But now at this point in time, I do believe that there's only one God, and that the rest were angels. So they were God's helpers. That's what I believe personally. You know, when you talk about multiple gods, see, like you going back to Egyptian times. Where you had the sun god, you had the fire, you had sun god, which was called Ra. Um, you had the water god. Back then, Egyptology taught that there were a lot of gods. Now, they very well could be right. I wasn't living during that time. And even though I delved a little bit into Egyptology, um, I was convinced at that time that I was reading it. But as time went on, now I'm back to the mindset that there is only one God. You know, I'm back to that mindset now. And when you and let me ask you a question, Uriah. Let me ask you a question. Why would multiple gods be needed? Why would multiple gods be needed to create the heavens and the earth? So then, wouldn't that mean that it's not one all powerful being? Wouldn't that mean that, okay, if all of these if all of, if there's more than one God, then there's no one person that's stronger and superior than everybody else? You know, it just, the Most High God have self emanation. I can go for that though. I can go for that. Now, when you say that, then pretty much we on the same page. Each emanating is a class of gods. What is okay? So just so me and you can have the right conversation, right? What is your spiritual belief? Do you believe in religion, or where does your set of teachings come from? Are you into Egyptology? Um, you into what is your frame of reference in terms of the gods are elements? Understandably so. Why yourself? But what is your frame of reference in terms of your belief system? I understand that you believe in God, but what teachings do you follow? That's a better question. What teachings do you follow specifically? Just so I can have the right conversation with you. Because, see, depending on the person's knowledge base, their knowledge level, I am not religious. Mm, okay. You're spiritual. Where do your belief system derive from? What's the base of your religious well, what's the base of your what's the basis of your faith? God is relationship, not religion. Yahweh is the highest. I hear a lot of people, I hear a lot of people refer to Yahweh as God. Jesus is the way. Okay, but if it's Jesus, then where's the Yahweh come from? Is that one of you referring to? That's one of his attributes, one of his name. Glasses in the tabernacle, aka the wolf. Look, it gets deep. You know, it gets deep. So Uriah, if I was to have a conversation with you, it wouldn't be the regular traditional conversation about Jesus Christ, about Allah. It wouldn't be that, because there's people who have different belief systems. That's why I asked you what was the basis of your faith, right? You have some people that are religious, which they follow religion. You have some people that are spiritual, which means they believe that a higher power exists. They just don't put a name on them, and they look at things, and they view things from a spiritual point of reference. Then you have those who deal with high scientists. You have those who deal with high scientists. Then you have those who deal with mathematics and supreme mathematics. It gets deep, you know it gets deep. But so long as you have a system of belief and faith that have you on the path of living a righteous life, I'm on the same page with you. I don't have to necessarily believe in, gods, or see things the way that you do. But if you are on a righteous path, if you live in a righteous life, then we one and the same. We just refer to our way of believing in different ways, but we're one and the same. And that's what it's about. Some people are going to gravitate towards, I call the higher power father. Why do you call a higher power father, if you don't mind me asking, Uriah? Why do you call a higher power father? His son is the creator of Project Probation, or elements who are now in flesh. His son is the creator of Project Probation, or elements who are now in flesh. Now, pretty much what it is that you're saying, I agree with that. I agree with that. All of the elements of the earth exist in our bodies. That is an actual fact. That is an actual fact. But now look, let me tell you something, and Uriah, stay around. Don't let me lose you, right? Let me just help you out real quick. Okay. So you see in the Bible, in the beginning. First of all, let me just ask you the question, Uriah, have you ever read the Bible before? I'm not asking whether you believe it or not. Have you ever read the Bible before? Because I want to ask the question before I share something with you. Because you may or may not have read it if you read the Bible before. Not. Okay. So now, in the Bible, right? In Genesis, which is one of the first chapters of the Bible, okay? Um, it speaks of how man and woman was created, right? And it said that Adam and Eve was created, right? Okay, so now you know, because I'm pretty sure you're very intelligent, that, well, I know there's at least three different ways to spell Adam. How many different ways do you spell Adam, Uriah? How many different ways do you spell Adam? I could give you four offhand. How many different ways can you spell Adam? Okay, Atom, Adam. Then you have Atum, which is Adam, right? You have Atum. Okay. Now in the Bible, now you probably never read it, but you probably heard this before. They said that Adam and Eve was the first people. Adam and Eve was the first people. Adam and Eve. What is Adam? Adam represents energy. Adam represents energy. What is Eve? Eve is darkness. Adam represents energy. Eve is darkness, right? Okay, so now let me take it a step further. We're going to go away from the Bible and then we're going to come back. Um, so now when a man and a woman have relations, right? A man enters into a woman's womb, which is darkness. There's an explosion, right? And you have atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, all of these different elements are in the form of liquid, which is semen. And that liquid creates a solid form, which is a fetus that's born 9 months later. See, a lot of people, and this is the reason why a lot of people they don't believe in the Bible, because they say, Adam and Eve was a man. But a lot of the Bible is symbolism, you know. Our bodies our bodies are a manifestation of how life was created. Like even in science class, you had the thing called a Big Bang Theory. I don't know if you ever heard of it. You have what's called a Big Bang Theory. They said it was a big cosmic explosion and, way up in space and everything came into existence. That's the same thing that happens and transpires when a man and a woman have intercourse. A big explosion occurs in the womb of a woman, which is in darkness, and it brings forth life. So, in your teaching, Jariah, where you feel that there are many gods, the only difference is that in the Bible, God refer to those other beings as angels. That's the only difference, right? And in terms of the Father and the Creator have extensions of themselves that are apparitions. They can host/possess flesh and create offspring undetected. You are 100% correct. I agree with you. But what I'm saying to you is a lot of the knowledge and the information that we individually have and we individually possess, if you take the knowledge and the information that you have and you read the Bible, I guarantee you will see correlations. You'll be like, wow, this is crazy. This just kind of explains in layman words some of the beliefs that I have. That's how people come into the awareness of how powerful the Bible is. Because see, the thing about, yes, a child can look like you and not be yours. Right. See, the thing about God is this, right? God reveals himself to who he want to reveal himself to. God reveal himself to who he want to reveal himself to. And then you have one particular part in the Bible, right? This is when and if you want to, if you want to Google it, you could Google it. But there's one particular part in the Bible where Jesus was given a sermon on the mount, which was, Mount Sinai. He was given a sermon. And excuse me, one of his disciples said, "Teacher, why do you speak in parables?" You know what a parable is, right? A parable is an intellectual an intellectual way of disseminating information, which only people that possess a level of knowledge and intellect are going to be able to understand it. So that's what that meant, is that people that's ignorant, they're not going to be able to understand this. So the disciple was asking him in so many words, why do you speak in a way that not everybody could understand you? And Jesus replied to him and said, those who have ears will hear. And it's like, but what do you mean those that have ears will hear? If everybody that are out here listening, we talking about hundreds of people, thousands of people, everybody out here got ears. Why would why would Jesus say those who have ears will hear when everybody got ears? Let me stop right there. Cooper, amen. How you doing? So now let me just stop right there real quick. Think about this for a second. And Uriah, I want your thoughts on this in terms of, what you feel. It's 1,000 people outside, and God said those who have ears will hear. But everybody that's standing out there got ears. You didn't think God knew that everybody had ears? Why would he make that statement? That's how deep the Bible is. Some people read it literally. There are some things in there that are literal, that you can like literally look at them and be like, okay, this is what he said. But then there's other things is you have to have an understanding. You have to have a certain level of knowledge and intellect to understand what's being said. If you don't have that, you're going to just continue to go on in life and thinking that the Bible is not true, or the Bible is just a bunch of inaccurate information. So many people think that. That's because they don't understand it. And the Bible also says, lean not on your own understanding. Lean not on your own understanding. When you're talking about God, when you're talking about, and we could call him the Father, the Creator, whatever way you look at or you want to refer to God, you can refer to him that way. We're talking about a being, an entity that created everything in existence, right? We're talking about a being and an entity that created everything in existence. How do we think we're going to understand everything about God with our limited mind? And we don't use a quarter of our brain cells. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, because they think they understand God. They think, oh, they get him. No, you don't. It takes you time. Like, you have to develop a personal relationship, with God. God is just not going to talk to you because you say a prayer one time. You got people that it take them years and years and years and years and years of learning, of researching, of studying, of praying, of getting into the spirit before they can actually, be able to have the kind of relationship with God that, all of us want to have. Jackie Vaughn, I can listen to you all night teaching us on the Bible. God is using you, and I love to see/hear it. God bless you, man. It's simply awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you. And they say God says that he used ordinary people to do extraordinary things, right? And just even that in and of itself, something that seems so simple, it still have a lot of meaning, right? If we look at most of the religious leaders, and we're talking about the black church, because we can't speak too much about the Catholic Church and stuff like that, because the way those individuals get in position are a little bit different, right? But let's look at somebody like Malcolm X that became a spiritual leader, right? Malcolm X came from prison. Malcolm X was a drug addict. Malcolm X was a thief. Malcolm X was a robber. He became one of the most strongest spiritual leaders. Why did he become one of the most strongest spiritual leaders? Why did he become that? Because God is going to appoint somebody that comes from amongst the people. Why do God rise somebody up that come from amongst the people? Because the people is going to be able to relate to him. And this is my personal um understanding of why there are different religions. Because you got how many different corners of this earth that you got? You got people that speak Chinese. You can't send nobody that speak English to somebody that's Chinese. For one, the language is the same and the customs is not the same. The language or the customs is not the same. So what happens is God is going to bring somebody up, a prophet, a messenger that lives amongst those people, that those people can relate to teach them the word. You can't bring somebody from the United States and take them to Africa and say, okay, pretty much you're going to be the prophet for these people, because in Africa they have different customs than here in the United States. You know, yeah, he Malcolm X was of mixed bloodline. We're not disputing that, but what we're saying is Malcolm X grew up running the streets. For one, his father died when he was young. We know that story. He grew up in the streets, pretty much was using drugs. He was pimping, he was, robbing people. He went to jail. He did a lot of time in jail. That's the story about that's the story of what? Half of urban America. Half of people from the hood, urban America, that grew up in the hood, urban environments, the slums, poor people. That he represents a great majority of those people. Why you think people was listening to him? So that's what God does. God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Even when you go to the Bible, you had murderers, you had ex-murderers, ex-rapists, ex-treasonous, because God was showing you that, okay, if these people could be saved, these people could be saved that, I'm talking about did some of the most heinous crimes. Anybody could be saved, you know? Anybody could be saved. So, and that's the message. That's the message for the day. Anybody could be saved. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be saved. And man can't save you. Man can't save you. But why would you want to be saved? See, you got to understand what salvation is. Look, if you live in life as a liar, as a cheater, as a thief, as a murderer, um, any of those categories of people, that's gonna lead your life down a path of darkness. And that darkness could be either prison or death. So if you live in a kind of life that could lead you in that direction, that's why you want to be saved. Meaning saved from the life that you're living before you crash out, before you crash and burn. That's all salvation means. People think salvation have this super far out meaning, that they can't comprehend. Salvation means you simply being saved from the destructive life that you live in. That's what salvation means. So if you are a person that's living a destructive lifestyle, you need to be saved. Why do you need to be saved? So that you don't throw your life down the drain, or so that you don't lose your life. It's that simple. It's that simple. And that relates to everybody in this world. We could take the religion off of it. Let's take the religion out of it for a second. Let's take the religion out of it for a second. Now, a drug addict, right? Because nowadays, what you got fentanyl, you got fentanyl, you got what's some of them other drugs out there? You got crack, you got heroin, you got pill, you got all of these different drugs, right? You got all of these different drugs. Now, what are the characteristics of most drug addicts? The characteristics of most drug addicts is they need some drugs. They're going to get some drugs, right? That's clear. Drug addicts are going to get drugs. That's what they all have in common. But they all go about getting drugs different ways. Some people work to support their habit. Some people hustle to support their habit. Some people rob to support their habit. Some people steal to support their habit. Some people kill to support their habit. That's why being a drug addict is dangerous, because a drug addict will take the life of an innocent person in order to get high. So they not only destroying their life, they done took the life of somebody's father. They done took the life of somebody's brother. They done took the life of, you understand what I'm saying? So this is why engaging in drugs is bad, because it could destroy your life by you taking somebody else's life, or you going to commit a crime and get hurt or get injured or get sent to jail because you committed a crime to do drugs. You know? So that's why you need salvation. Why do a thief need salvation? A person that steals. Why do a thief need salvation? Because if you go try to steal from the wrong person, they could take your life. It's that simple. You go try to steal from the wrong person, they could take your life. Or you go try to steal from the wrong person and they not trying to allow you to take their stuff. You want to take in their life, and now you in prison. It's called cause and effect. Certain things you do. 2:45 a.m. Gotta get up at 9. Gotta go. I'll be back for sure. Okay, Jackie. It was a pleasure. Enjoy your rest so you can get up and handle what you gotta handle. If you don't catch the rest of it, then pretty much I'll leave it up there, so in that way you could watch it at a later time. Appreciate you coming through. God bless. And sometimes all you gotta do is just stop in for a few. All you gotta do is stop in for a few. You don't even gotta stay long. Just stay for a couple of minutes. You know. So that's why you have some of those commandments that you have in the Bible, where it says, "Thou shalt not steal," "Thou shalt not kill," "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife." That's why it says, "Thou shalt not do those things." It tells you not to do those things because there are consequences associated with those things. So that's why it warned you to not do it. How many people, right? How many people that they thought they was just getting in a car and going joyriding? Some of them wound up in the prison. Some of them wound up with that car wrapped around a pole. Be careful of the company you keep. Why should you be careful of the company you keep? Because some company that you keep is going to lead you down a path of destruction. What is destruction? Where you're going to destroy your life or the life of others. A lot of this stuff you don't even have to really be super religious to understand. A lot of it is common sense, but it takes somebody who can break it down to you in a way that you can understand. And that's all I'm doing this evening. I'm just giving it to you in a way that you can understand. Some people they don't have good. Some people they don't have good. What do you call it? Good comprehension skills, right? What is comprehension skills? Comprehension skills is the ability to take what somebody say and make it make sense for them. Everybody don't have that. You ever had a conversation with somebody where you say something and they be like, "What? What you talking about?" They ready to start hyperventilating because they don't understand what you're saying. They don't understand where you coming from, you know? Because some people, their level of comprehension is very small. Some people are ignorant. You call some people ignorant, they ready to fight because they don't understand what ignorant mean. All ignorant mean is that you have a limited amount of information in regards to a topic or something that's being spoken about. We're all ignorant. If you having a conversation right now about the uh if you having a conversation right now about, let's say, space, I'm gonna be ignorant because I don't know a lot about space. But people that don't take the time to read and to understand and to study, they think certain words is negative. Ignorant is not a negative word. Ignorant is not a negative word. Ignorant just simply say you have a lack of knowledge or information in regards to a certain topic. That's all it is. And we're all ignorant. If you're not a car salesman, if you're not a mechanic, then you're ignorant to how to fix cars. Does that make you a bad person? Does that mean you stupid? No. And sometimes just changing the wording makes a difference. Like, you don't have to call somebody stupid, even though we all do it sometimes. I still do it. I call people stupid. You stupid. But when we use certain words towards people, what we do is we make them react to those words. So you call somebody stupid, they be ready to fight. It doesn't matter if you could beat them or not, but it's why put yourself in a situation where you have a confrontation when you didn't need to. Some people, because they don't know a lot, they don't possess a lot of understanding, you start speaking to them with knowledge and intellect and information, and they're going to get offended. They're going to think that, are you trying to belittle them, you trying to put them down, when it's not that. You just sharing information with them. So sometimes the greatest teacher, sometimes the greatest people to be teachers is the ones that could break things down in a way that everybody could understand and nobody feel offended, you know? And that's the goal. Um, we not gonna say that we up here and we gonna save the world and we trying to save the world. No, we just up here sharing information, having a little powwow, getting to know each other, you know, respecting each other's beliefs, respecting, you know, individuals' knowledge and intellect and what have you, just having respect. It don't cost you nothing to have respect for people. You don't have to agree. But if you don't agree, who said that just because you don't agree that you have to be at odds or you have to be enemies? No. You don't agree. What I don't agree mean? What does it mean? If you don't agree with somebody, what does it mean? You not agreeing just mean they have one point of view and you have a different point of view. What's so bad about that? Why you gotta fight about it? Why you gotta yell about it? Why you gotta scream? Why you gotta argue about it? It's okay. You may like pizza. I may like hamburgers. So what, we gonna fight because we like different things? And this is what people do, you know? Or people say, oh, because you don't like this, is something wrong with you. Why? Why? That's what you like. I don't have to like what you like, you know? That's all it is in a nutshell. Um, so right. Some of everything has truth to it, so no arguing is necessary. Yes. You know why? Because nobody has all of the knowledge, all of the information. Nobody. I don't care who you are. Nobody knows it all. So, with the knowledge that you have, and you hear a conversation with somebody, they could be giving you another piece to the puzzle, or they could be giving you some information that you could process for a later date, or it may be something that you was thinking about, some time ago, and now they give you this information. You could throw that around in your mind, and you could see what makes sense. It's called adding on. Like, people act like they never went to the playground and was playing with blocks. What do you do with blocks? You add one block on top of the other, one block on top of the other, and you create something. But when people get older, they say, "Oh, no, I got this. I don't need you to add on nothing." What do you mean you don't need nobody to add nothing on for you? You don't need nobody to give you any additional information. See, now that's ignorant, because a wise person, look, and this is for you, Uriah, right? I'm gonna give you a nugget. So there's a saying that goes, um, everybody is a teacher to a wise man. A wise man is only a teacher to a few. Everybody is a teacher to a wise man. A wise man is only a teacher to a few. It sounds simple to some, it may sound complex to others. So let me learn you what that means, right? A wise person understands that they can learn something from everybody, which is true. Because when you have a conversation with some people, right? Just based on what comes out of their mouth, you learn something. You learn whether they're smart, you learn whether they're not smart, you learn whether they deal with common sense, you learn whether they're emotional, you learn whether they stretch the truth. These is all of the things that you learn when you have conversation with people. You learn if they keep an open mind. So everybody that you come across, you're going to learn something from. It didn't say you're gonna learn how to build a rocket. No. Like everybody that, well, for the most part, everybody that came in the chat, since we've been on live, everybody came with a little bit of peace instead of one person. Some people just stopped and, amen, bless you. Some people, actually engaged in a conversation, and it was respectful. Everybody got an opportunity to be heard, to be seen. And I tried to address everybody that has something to say, you know. Um, so all in all, it was a good day. So what did we learn from this live? We learned that we could all come together and have a conversation and learn something. If we didn't come here to learn, we could come here and just kind of listen to what's going on. If we ain't come here for that, we just, passing through to see what people saying. Some people, they just go to lives to read the comments, and they just want to comment. So um everybody comes in for a different reason, because they got a different agenda. So, I appreciate everybody coming through. I appreciate everybody that stopped in. If you didn't, you could go check out my short videos. I have a lot of, encouraging quotes in my short videos, pertaining to and relating to God, because God is the answer, God is the key, God is the way, God is the answer. Um, Life get frustrating, you know. Life get frustrating. Nobody is perfect. Um, you're gonna have bad days. Um, some days you may have all of the self-control in the world, and maybe one day you'll explode. And maybe one day you don't want to be patient, and maybe one day you don't want to hear it. That doesn't make you a bad person. That just means you had a bad day. So what you got to do is you got to focus on what's called self-control. What is self-control? Self-control is your ability to control yourself. Some people battle with that their whole life. That's not something that you learn just because you're a teenager or because you are a young adult. Some people 40, 50, 60, and 70 years old and still don't have no self-control. You know? So individually, I think it is best, and I think it makes sense that before you say that God is not real, and before you say that religion is fake and religion is not real, um, do something else, right? And that's something else that you should do is take a look at yourself. Be honest with yourself. Sit down with yourself and see what it is that you have to work on as an individual before you start, trying to learn other stuff. Before you try to learn about God and other, you excuse me, you don't have to do anything, right? You should want to develop uh or strengthen your comprehension skills so that you can be able to digest information. You should want to strengthen your patience skills, because any religious book is a big book. It's going to take you time to sit down and read it. You should want to have a desire to change, or you should want to have a desire to know before you pick up a religious book. Because if you pick up that book, if you pick up the Bible and you only picking it up because you want to challenge or attack what's in there, you picking it up for the wrong reasons. And therefore you're not going to get the information. You know? Yes, there's churches, and religion and spirituality is different. There is a difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is when you are a part of a group or body of other believers. That's what religion is. Spirituality is something more internal. That means, you know, you have a relationship with the creator, and it stems more from inside, meaning you have a inner connection, because we all have a soul, and we all have a spirit. Um, and the spirit is the one thing that can't and don't die. Like when our physical bodies pass on, the spirit is going to live on. So when you say you spiritual, you say that the inner you is connected with the creator. Some people refer to it as the higher you. you know um if you believe in Yahweh, you call him Jehovah, you call them, see, all of those are different names, right? And this is something that I want to touch on, right? So different people call God different by different names. Some call him Yahweh, some call him Jehovah, some call him Jesus, some call him God, some call him Allah, some call him Buddha, right? Okay. Do you realize that all of those are names? The creator, right? Do you realize that all of those are names? It's names. It's names. But does that mean that it's different gods, or it's y'all serving different gods because y'all call them by different names? Did anybody ever think of that? That maybe all of these different religions are just referring to God by different names. And if all of y'all believe one God exists, one, then I think a lot of y'all been fighting all this time for no reason. If especially if all of y'all believe only one God exists, y'all just calling them by different names. That's just like your friends. Like some people call them slim, some people call them fat, some people call them chubby, some people call them chubs. You know, his parents call him something different. His significant other call him something different, but it's still the same person. Y'all just calling them by different names. That's it. The gods will give human any and everything but the truth. Right. You know, and there's it's so much different information out there, you know, that I understand why people are confused. Because it's like, man, what do I believe in? You know? Nobody want to believe in something and then come to find out that it just makes no sense, you know? Nobody want to wake up and say, "Oh, I was believing in that all this time, and now I don't believe in it no more." So it's just more simple to it's more simple to keep it simple, you know. Focus on you developing a personal relationship with the Creator. Don't try to develop a relationship with God based on how other people develop their relationship with Him, you know. Um, and you don't have to practice the way in which other people practice. Because best believe it's just like riding a bike. You see how you ride a bike, you get better in time. So it's the same thing when you seeking out a connection and a spiritual relationship with the Creator. Do that one on one. Do that between you and the Creator, you know, and see what you come up with. But just realize it's gonna take patience. It's gonna take time. And um yeah, probably tomorrow. I'm gonna go live again tomorrow, and I want to try to do it with a I want to try to do it with a consistency, meaning a certain time, so that anybody that want to partake in the conversation and want to join the live, you know what the live is gonna be about. You could chime in. So if you not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. I could have said this earlier, but it wasn't about that. It was about having a conversation. If you not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications. And um, what I'm gonna do is uh I'll drop a message to let you know at what time I'm going live. So you know, for those that want to be on the live or be a part of the live, you know, you could definitely join. It's 11 o'clock over here where I'm at. I don't know what time it is where y'all at, and you know, just before I go, I'm gonna just give a brief testimony. Um, what is a testimony? Tyrone Hunter. What's really good entertainment? What is a testimony? Right. So a testimony is you giving your story of where you came from to get to where you are now. That's what a testimony is, right? So now let me give you my testimony, which is my personal story. So my personal story is, you know, I grew up in Brooklyn, in the projects, Fort Greene housing projects, downtown Brooklyn. Um, Parents addicted to drugs. My father died when I was young. I started running the streets at a young age. I was already running around the streets 8 years old, stealing out of stores. I had a couple of hustles. I used to pack bags, wash car windows, pick cans, sell newspapers, go to the store for people in the hood. So I had a couple of different hustles as I was coming up, and then, um, you know, I just got deeper in the streets. What you mean by deep in the streets? Well, I started exploring with different things. Started playing with weapons. You know, started dealing with narcotics. Um, and went through that whole phase of pretty much being in the streets and back and forth, getting arrested. You know, going to prison. Wound up going to prison. Doing 15 years in jail. Came home. Um, and I want to say for about 10 years, I was just still trying to find my way, you know, even right now as we speak. Um, I'm still in the process of finding my way. And it's important that I let y'all know that it took many, many years for me to get on the path. See, right now I'm 47 years old. Right now, I'm 47. And at this point in time, I'm now planting my feet firmly and solid on the path, right? Because we, as we get older, we think that we got all the answers. We think can't nobody tell us nothing. Um, but when you constantly going through things in life, and when you constantly find yourself in predicaments in life, and you don't know how you got yourself out of it, that's when you start looking at God and be like, man, you didn't get yourself out of it. You know, you was in situations where your back was against the wall, and you like, man, how I get my back off the wall and I ain't get injured. Then you start looking up to the heavens and you like, man, it's only one person could have did it, because you know how stubborn you are. You think you got all the answers. You will argue anybody down to prove your point. But when you get to a point in life where you humble yourself and you say, you know what? My way didn't get me the results that I wanted in life. So I'm going to try a different way. You didn't try it every other way. You didn't try to by trying to do it in the streets. You didn't try to by, trying to follow other people. You didn't did it by, trying to sometimes fake it until you make it. Sometimes act like you a certain person in front of everybody, but then at the end of the day you somebody else. So you go through all of these stages, and then you just get to a point where you tired. You get to a point or you just tired of running around in circles, you know? And then you make a decision. You say, well, I didn't try living my way. I didn't try doing it my way for all of these years, and that didn't work. So let me try another way. A lot of people don't get an opportunity to live long enough to make changes in their life. Some of them pass away when they still in that stage of still trying to find themselves and trying to discover who they are as individuals. They didn't never get an opportunity to change, because the one thing about life that's guaranteed is everybody is going to change. You're either going to change for the better or you're going to change for the worse. You're going to change yourself, or life is going to force you to change. That's what's guaranteed. So I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I'm an individual that's striving. I'm on the path. I was on the path, some years ago. I strayed away from the path, you know, because in life you spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. You just don't want to admit that's what you're doing. But you bumping your head and you getting bruises and you getting back up and you like, okay, well, I went in that direction before, let me go in this direction. You go in that direction, you get similar results. Then you like, oh nah, that's not the way. You go in this direction, you fall down a hill. Now you gotta climb back up from that hill. And you like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of bumping my head. You know? All of the things that you thought was gonna bring you satisfaction, like, money, materialism, um, you know, the opposite sex, or whomsoever you think is cute or handsome, and you seek to build relationships with people, all in the process of like trying to feel complete and trying to feel whole, or just really, like trying to make sense of life. And then time and time and time and time pass by. And you like, but none of this don't make sense. That's when you start going within. That's when you dig deeper within yourself, and you like, man, it gotta be something else, because it's crazy out there, you know? Um and a lot of people are dying younger and younger. Like drugs are claiming a lot of people's lives. Um, violence is claiming a lot of people's lives. And a lot of people are not living a long time. But out of my whole life, out of my entire life, and I accomplished a lot in life. I accomplished a whole lot in life, right? What I want everybody to do is I want you to think of one thing or one moment in your life that really had you thinking, or it was kind of like a defining moment. It was kind of like a defining moment for you. What is a defining moment? A defining moment is a moment in time where you transition from thinking a certain way and then you change your way of thinking. I don't know if that makes sense. But, or it could be, uh, think of a moment in time that stood out to you. Out of all of the things that happen in your life, think of a moment in time that you'll probably remember for the rest of your life. I'm going to give y'all this moment that I experienced, and then I'm going to get off alive, right? Because I want to leave y'all with this. So, I remember I was in prison, right? And I was in, I would, at this point in time, I probably then did like maybe 8 years, 9 years. I was coming up on 10 years. I was in solitary confinement, right? And it could have been a little less. I could have been on my seventh year, something like that. I know I was in solitary confinement, and I was next door to an older guy, and this older guy was real smart. He used to be sending me all of these books to read, and at that point in time, I was still like kind of ignorant and dumb and still argumentative. Um, and he was patient, you know. He was patient. He used to be like, "Yo, young blood, man, you gotta calm down." And I'm like, "Man, calm down for what?" And you know, he used to always use this one saying, and that saying was, he said, "Young blood, I done forgot more knowledge and information than you will ever learn in your entire life. I'm like, what? I took offense to that because I'm like, what do you mean you forgot more than I'm ever gonna learn in my life? And he was just pretty much saying in a nutshell, like that's how much he learned. And he was trying to impart a lot of knowledge or a lot of information that he learned to me. He was giving me a lot of books, like, yo, read this, just trying to get me to open my mind. And at that time, my mind just wasn't like real open to receiving nothing of what he was saying. And this was my defining moment. I told him, I said, you somebody that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life. He's like, why is that? I said, because you over 60 years old. You done did over 20 something years in prison. And you're gonna be in jail for the rest of your life. I said, you a prime example of who I don't want to be when I grow up. And that's probably the realest thing I ever said, and probably one of the realest things I ever felt. Even back then, I knew that I didn't want to be the individual that was going to grow old and die in jail. You know? Um, and it was deep too, because he could have been somebody's grandfather. He could have been, he was over 60 years old. He had 20 something years in. I think he had over 25 years in. But he had a life bid. So he was going to die in jail. He was going to do the rest of his time in jail. And, when I said it, I wasn't trying to be rude or disrespectful or nothing like that. I was just being real. Like, you who I don't want to be. Like, here it is, you doing all of this time in jail and you trying to teach me something. Why you didn't teach yourself that when you was out there in the free world? Why you didn't use all of this knowledge and information to stay free, you know? So you wouldn't have to be in jail and, think you got kids and think you got a responsibility to teach the younger generation. So, with that being said, man, it's I just decided that I don't I didn't really know exactly what I was gonna do, exactly how my life was gonna play out. But what I did know is that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in jail. And so everything that I've been doing since I've been released, um, it's been to better myself as an individual. And I did a decent job. Still got so far to go. So thank you for everybody that checked in on the live today, this evening. If you didn't subscribe to the channel so you could be notified when I drop other videos, because with so many different people that be on live, like, you probably won't get an opportunity. You may or may not just you know, pop up again on the live feed. But if you subscribe to the channel and you got the notifications on, then you know what I'm gonna drop. And I'm gonna go live tomorrow, and I'm gonna let y'all know well in advance, what time I'm gonna go live. Probably try to do it around the same time. Maybe start like about 10 o'clock, 10:30. See how that go. And we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it do what it do. Um, to anybody that's out there spiritual, you religious, whatever your mode of information that you follow, that you study, so long as it makes you a better person, so long as it makes you a righteous person, so long as it's the kind of information that have you striving, to becoming somebody better. Listen, we all part of the same family, you know. It's not about um, the different religious denominations, because one thing for sure and two things for certain, you can learn from me like I can learn from you. And if I can learn from you and you can learn from me, then that means other people can learn from us. And we could just come on there and, just chop it up, have some good conversation, have some good laughs, and we could share what it is that we learn. So that's what we did today, and we're gonna continue to do it. So um hopefully I see y'all in the next live. Uriah, man, you been hanging out with me. Um, you know, you've been hanging out with me. I appreciate your interaction, and I hope to see you again. And for everybody that checked in the live, man, God bless. Stay up, stay tall. Don't worry about what's going on in life, because that's what's going on today. Tomorrow could be totally different. You know, so don't let today define you. Let today be your defining moment. What's your defining moment? The moment in time where you decide that you're going to do something different to get different results. That's on your way to the top. We out of here. God bless.